Hey, welcome back to Movies Good, Internet Bad, a celebration of the cinema uploaded right here to the place that hates it the most. I'm Cory, that's Shane, and in this video, we're playing catch up. We're going to talk about 5 movies today. We're not going to tell you what they are. You have to watch the whole video to find out. Shane, how are you today, sir?
Doing well. It's good to catch up on these. These are movies that we have seen throughout the course of the year, and we just never got around to recording it, or we saw it at different times. So it'll be nice to talk about them.
Yeah, should be exciting. And if you like what you see here and what we're doing, do us a favor. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. We're looking to get towards 100 subscribers by the end of the year if we can. I know it's a lofty goal. We're new, but we're ambitious. So here we go. Let's dive right in. Shane, the first movie. This is one that we have both seen and we both like quite a bit. It is The Wild Robot, which I think is a contender, if not frontrunner, for Best Animated Film at the Oscars. Thoughts?
I really loved it. I mean, I went in with pretty minimal expectations. I didn't hear much about it in terms of trailers or anything until the reviews started coming out and everyone started praising it. And we saw it in theaters and absolutely loved it. It's got a few issues with it kind of feels like a story of the week type thing in some aspects of it, where it kind of turns into like a compartmented movie, like different little plot lines. But overall, I think the movie's got a lot of heart. The score is really good. I think it may also be up for Best Original Song with, I think, Kiss the Sky is the name of the song.
Yep.
I think that was up for a Golden Globe. It will probably be up for an Oscar, but it plays during the little montage sequence in the middle of the film. But it was just really delightful. I mean, I was shocked. It's one of the best animated movies I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things because it came out of nowhere. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you looked at this year and Inside Out 2 was coming out and Moana 2 was coming out, and everyone automatically assumes, okay, those are going to be the front runners for the best animated whatever, right? And then this little movie from DreamWorks comes out, and in my opinion, I haven't seen Moana, and I guess we'll talk about that in a little bit, spoilers, but it blew the doors off of Inside Out 2 for me. And I liked Inside Out 2. I just thought this was much better made. More engaging story, more heart, more emotion, so on and so forth. So
yeah, I really liked Inside Out 2 as well. I was like shocked at how much I liked Inside Out 2 because most of the Pixar sequels haven't really been for me.
Right.
But then, I thought that was going to be the front runner for Best Animated Feature, and then I saw Wild Robot, and I was like, oh wow, this is much better.
Yeah, definite Oscar contender. Do you think it has a chance at Best Picture since there are 10 potential openings, or no?
Probably not. It's a pretty good year for Best Picture, so I think a lot of other stuff will get in. I mean, when they're talking about Dune 2 maybe not even getting nominated for that, and I don't think that Wild Robot would get in where Dune 2 would not. But I think it has a chance for Best Original Score, Best Animated Feature, and Best Original Song. So, 3 Oscars for an animated film would be incredible, right?
Yeah. And the Academy tends to kind of poo-poo on animated stuff when it comes to the big Best Picture, right? I think there's only been a small handful of animated films.
Beauty and the Beast and Up, I think, are the only 2
that have gotten even just nominated.
Right? Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, Wild Robot, really great movie. If you didn't see it in theaters, it's out on digital. It's out on 4K disc now. The 4K disc is really good. It has a really good Dolby Atmos track on it. And the visuals are just beautiful. So
the other thing I'll say is I didn't realize that it was Pedro Pascal. Like, I didn't look up the IMDb until I saw the movie. And then, like, in the credits, I was like, oh, that was Pedro. Because he kind of sounds like Jason Bateman as the fox in Zootopia a little bit.
That's fair.
So I was getting major Jason Bateman vibes, and then Pedro Pascal. And then I watched it a second time. It's like, oh, yeah, clearly Pedro Pascal.
It's definitely him.
Yeah.
He is everywhere right now. Good Lord. In this, he's in The Last of Us. He's in the Fantastic Four movie that's coming out next year.
Mandalorian.
Yeah, well, sort of. His face isn't really.
He's filmed scenes for the movie, so I'm guessing they'll have a face reveal in that.
Him and Rada the Hutt, played by Jeremy Allen White. Can't wait for that. Moving right along to a potential top 3 of movie for me of the year, at least, is Conclave, which is about the replacement of a pope after the sitting pope dies, and all of the cattiness that comes along with that. Shane, I'm going to kick this one off because all I want to talk about is the cinematography of this movie.
Yes. We watched this last night. That was the first time I'd seen it, was last night. And I couldn't get over just how much every shot seemed like a work of art. Beautifully composed shots, and kind of how they held on certain scenes. Not just the cinematography, but the way that it's edited was very unique to me. There were a variety of shots where it was like you would expect it to cut to the reaction of a person, but it hung on the person that was speaking.
Yeah.
Like I think one of them was when he was asking the guy if he got fired, and you just see him asking, you just see the accusation, but it doesn't cut back to the other guy until much later. And they did that a couple of different times. I thought that was great. I also loved one of the great aspects of this movie is that when they are revealing the votes for who should be the Pope, they immediately cut to who the person they just said.
Yeah.
And because in the beginning, I'm like, who is Tremblay? Who is Bellini? Who are these people? And then very quickly, they're like, this is Tremblay. This is Bellini. This is Lawrence. Like, it was great. Like, I love when movies do that really early on, because then you're on. You're not like, who's that again?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of those choices that you talked about, especially the one where you mentioned that it's the person talking and not the reaction, because there's a lot of character moment in their facial expressions as they're talking about those things. And sometimes you lose that when you quickly cut right over to the other person, and you can feel some of the pain and the lack of trust from some of the different folks there and whatnot. Very cool. Performance wise, excellent across the board. Ray Fiennes is great. Stanley Tucci's great. John Lithgow's great. Monica Bellucci's great. Just really terrific cast across the board.
I only knew that Ray Fiennes was in this. I didn't look up the IMDb for this one going into it, except I just knew that Ray Fiennes was in it. So when like John Lithgow pops up, I'm like, oh my god!
Yeah, it's like Avengers level cameos. Right?
Yeah.
But it's all just about catty men trying to replace the Pope. So, what are you thinking Oscar wise for this one? You think it's got a chance for some
Ray
nominations
Fiennes
or
definitely
wins?
should get nominated for this. Best adapted screenplay, probably. I looked it up, and the book is very similar to the movie. Apparently, the twist ending, which we'll talk about, is exactly the same in the book. I wasn't sure if that was more of like a modern twist on the story or something, but apparently it's in the book, and the book's not super old. It's like 2016, so it's still dealing with similar types of sexuality issues and stuff like that, but it's not like a definitive statement on like what has happened this year or something like that. Which I think a lot of people are accusing it of, but like it's exactly the same as a book that's 8 years old. So
and is the book called Conclave also, or does it have a different title?
I think so. Pretty sure.
Cool.
But
so let's talk about that twist.
The
Spoilers,
twist,
if you haven't seen the movie.
I would never would have guessed it in a million years.
Me either.
Like I thought, the basic storytelling that you would expect is like, actually, he wasn't an ordained cardinal or whatever. Like, he's just some random guy and he made the whole thing up. And does that make him ineligible, or do you still make him Pope? So that's what I thought the twist was, and that seems like the obvious one. I did not expect intersex Pope at all. Never saw that coming. Now, granted, once they start talking about like the clinic thing, I was like, oh, is he trans or something like that?
So that's the thing, is they start to make you think it's a trans thing,
and it's
not.
Then
it turns out that it's just both parts from birth. And it's
right.
Really interesting.
And I think it's interesting too, because it almost is like, you could see it as almost an anti-trans story. You could almost see it that way, because he says something along the lines of like, I thought it would be more of a sin to change God's creation than to adapt, or something like that. And I'm like, it's an interesting kind of twist they put on it.
When you're talking
but I don't think it's, at the ultimate level, I don't think it's about that at all. I think it is about just accepting difference, right? And the Catholic Church is very bad at accepting difference, or historically has been. And so that's kind of what the story is about. It's not meant to be some definitive statement on like, is, trans rights or not trans rights, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it's meant to do that at all. I think it is purely, an indictment on kind of the church not the Catholic Church specifically, but just churches in general and intolerance and all of that stuff.
Yeah. I loved all of it. Like I said, I think it's at least top 5, maybe top 3 out of the year for me. And it's available on Peacock right now if you don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be out on, I think, Blu-ray and 4K in the next couple of weeks. So last one that we've both seen is We Live in Time, starring Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. It is a movie that takes place at several moments in time and spans the length of a relationship that two people stumble their way into, and it's a love story. It's a not so much love story. It's a selfish, unselfish, selfless, kids, no kids kind of thing. I think you and I were kind of in agreement on this, that it was a decent script that was highly elevated by two very talented performers who had extremely good chemistry.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it, is when you really look at the movie, it's almost like a, not, I don't want to say Hallmark level, but like a, baseline level of story. But then once you add the artistry that, Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh add to it, then it becomes an elevated thing.
Yeah.
And I was watching an interview with Andrew Garfield, and he said that recently he's come to kind of appreciate life a little bit more. So when the script came across his desk, he just knew he had to do it, even though, I wouldn't say the quality of the script is outrageous or anything like that. But I think it just connected with him in that moment in his life.
That's crazy.
I thought the major highlights were, number one, spoilers, the ending.
It's called We Live in Time, but it's also We Die in Time. So no, I think the ending where they kind of set up the dog aspect of it, and then they show the dog, and it clicks with you very quickly. Yep.
That what happened, rather than going through it all. I thought that was really well done, and they kind of call back to the eggs thing. I thought that was great. Like
you don't see the death happen. You don't see a funeral. You don't see. It's just a very discrete nonverbal storytelling cue where you see the dog and you're like, okay, shit hit the floor or hit the fan, and that's it, right?
I love little visual storytelling like that. Going back to Conclave, another thing that does is it sets up the female character early, but you don't know what she's gonna you don't know how she's important, but it keeps showing her, so you think okay, I gotta it's cueing my brain,
right?
Be ready for this character.
Yep.
I love visual storytelling like that, right? It's not beating you over the head with it and telling you this is what you should feel or this is what you should think. It's just showing you and presenting things and letting you figure it out. And this is how the ending worked for me. You see, they set up the dog early, you see the dog, and it's like, I got it. I know what happened. I don't need to see the crying while she's dying and her last breaths and, all that stuff. Right. You don't need it.
And there's enough sadness in the movie that you don't need to tack it.
It would have ripped your heart out by that point. But and then the highlight scene for me though was the birthing scene, which was just like a chaotic, comedic sequence where it just series of unfortunate events, and the handle on the door breaks and they're having to break. It's just, but then just all the emotion when it actually happens, I thought was awesome.
Yeah, and just people coming together to help someone else, because the two attendants at the gas station or whatever that do everything they can to make sure it all goes smoothly and whatnot. It's nice to see people helping other people in movies and not just being torn apart. So but overall, it's not a movie I'll think about very much, but I'm glad I watched it. Yeah, I don't think it's got any real chance for any Oscar stuff or whatever, but a solid 7 out of 10 type movie is not necessarily a bad thing, right?
Yep.
Good stuff, man. So moving on, we're going to each do one movie that the other hasn't seen. So you posted a short a ways back on the channel about Moana 2, and you got some fun comments on your thoughts. I'm going to kick my feet up here and ask away about your thoughts on the TV show formerly known as Moana 2 that was converted into a movie because Bob Iger has a mandate for movies to go into theaters now, and go.
So I'll start by saying he made the right call, clearly. Like Moana is way too popular to only put it on Disney Plus and not make any money off of it. And it's made like $800 million or something
really?
so far as of recording. Like it's going to probably pass $1 billion pretty easily. So it has made a ton of money. So it was clearly the right call converting it. However, from a quality perspective, not the right call. But I don't think they care. Right? They made their money. They capitalized on the franchise. The quality of the movie is not great. The overall, you're probably not ever going to watch it, so I'll go through the overall premise for you. But essentially, Moana is called upon by a ghost to reunite the tribes across the world by going to like an Atlantis situation of like this sunken island, and she has to raise it from underwater. But at the same time, there's like a god that is not ever shown. It's just like a thunderstorm that doesn't want her to do that.
Got it.
And so that's the premise.
Okay.
It's set up very weirdly because in the beginning of the movie, she's like exploring around and finding artifacts from different tribes. And she goes back to the island and she's like, we got to unite the tribes and find the other tribes. And then the ghost calls out to her and says, you need to unite the tribes. And then she's like, I don't know if I can do it. It's like, you just said you wanted to do that. What are you talking about? So it's a weird mixed message early. They insert Moana's little sister purely for a reason why she does not want to go out again, because she doesn't want to leave her little sister. And that is the extent of her characterization. She just is a very, very cute little 2-year-old or something in the movie. The music is not good.
So
the music is not catchy.
What's his face left, right?
At all. So Lin-Manuel Miranda was not involved because he was too busy to do Disney Plus shows. And so the duo that they got was I think they've done like pop music. And they just kept the same duo from the TV show and had them do the movie.
Okay.
But the songs are just not very memorable, not very catchy. I could not tell you a chorus from any of the songs. It entered my brain and left my brain instantly, which is not common for Disney movies. I will say though that like it's a pretty easy one-to-one relationship between if the movie has catchy music and if the composer has worked on Broadway. For some reason, the two most recent movies that they have not gotten Broadway songwriters for and gotten pop songwriters for were Moana 2 and Wish, and neither of them had good music, and every other thing is like Broadway. Like Lion King was, I guess, not Broadway, but they had some people from British theater write the music for that. And then aside from Hans Zimmer, obviously, for the actual songs. And then like Alan Menken did Tangled and Little Mermaid and all that stuff. Did you do I think it was Little Mermaid. And then like Lin-Manuel did Moana and Encanto. Like obviously those are huge.
And Mufasa too, I think, right?
He's doing the Mufasa music as well, which we'll see if I see that one, but it's not getting great reviews.
Well, maybe that brings up an interesting point, because you said that Disney doesn't care if the movies are good or not, right? All they care about is that they make money.
It's pretty true.
You sent over a text to a group thread that we're in the other day with all of the recent Rotten Tomatoes scores for every Disney movie that's come out.
Yeah.
And Indiana Jones had a 70%. Haunted Mansion was 38. Wish was 48. Deadpool 3 was 78. Inside Out 2 was 91. Moana 2 was 61. And Mufasa was 59. So only 3 of those are really fresh. I think Moana 2 may have even dropped out of fresh to rotten.
It was 61 last time I checked.
And only one of them is really high, with Inside Out being at a 91%. But most of those movies, Moana made a lot of money, Inside Out made a ton of money, Deadpool made a ton of money. They had a little bit of a lull last year. Not their best.
Wish was a spectacular flop. It didn't make any money.
Haunted Mansion, Indiana Jones didn't really light the world on fire. But if you're looking at this year in particular, Deadpool, Inside Out, Moana, and Mufasa is probably going to do pretty well too, because it's a Christmas time movie. It has decent enough reviews and whatnot.
Like what are you going to see? Nosferatu with your family? I mean, I am, but I don't have children.
Shane, I have tickets to go see Nosferatu at 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve, because I am a true sicko, and I'm very.
No, I'll definitely see it. I'm just saying, like, if you're a family, you're not going to go out to see Nosferatu.
No,
with
it's
your three
Nosferatu,
children.
Baby Girl.
Yeah, like you're
There's a lot
gonna
of
see
adult movies
Mufasa.
coming out for
Yeah.
Christmas, and this Mufasa is the family one, so it'll probably do halfway decent. So there's no motivation for Disney or for Bob Iger to say, hey, let's actually go ahead and make our movies better, because they're going to print money anyways. So
I'll give him a little bit of credit, because like a little bit of benefit of the doubt, because most of anything that's coming out now is not stuff that was greenlit or in production while he was CEO, right? This is all prior Chapek type stuff. And he's coming in to kind of fix everything. So like he took the Moana TV show and made it a movie, which was an excellent decision,
gift,
right? Like, like he is not the one that said like, let's make this a TV show,
right?
Or really monitoring the quality of it. He's just like, we need stuff in theaters because we're not making any money, and this is a clear winner. And he made the right CEO call
with the Mandalorian movie. Because that was originally going to be season 4 of Mando. It's going to be a movie now. It's going to make $1 billion because it's got Grogu in it. Even if it's bad, people are going to go see it. So it's a rock and a hard place type situation,
Star Wars can't come out with anything else. So like, had he not done that, we still would not have a Star Wars movie next year. So I mean, I get it. Like, you got to make money on your theatrical, especially after last year where they kind of everything flopped for them. And it's worked. Inside Out 2 was actually really good, so I was happy that did well. But then, of course, like Moana, Mufasa, that type of stuff is. I don't know.
It's difficult. I think I said to you that Disney has become the gold standard of mediocrity.
Yeah, it's just like, come out with something that's like baseline and just gets the kids to buy toys.
It's good enough and it makes money,
Yeah, and that's where it kills it for me, is like all the people who are like, well, it's for children. It's like, but that's not historically what Disney has been. Like, the whole point of Disney, theme parks, movies, whatever, is things that adults and children can enjoy together, right? And that's what made them different. And that's why Pixar was, huge, because
Pixar was super successful.
The adults could watch it and enjoy it just as much as the kids. But now it just seems like they're just catering to the lowest common denominator. They don't really care about making it super high quality. It's just get the franchise out there, get the cute characters that kids are going to buy toys of,
make the merchandise,
and that's enough.
That's it. Because they have to report to their shareholders, right?
And that's the thing, right? Is at the end of the day, they're making their money, and that's fine. But like, what legacy are you leaving? And like, you always like to talk about Walt founding the company and stuff. And like, Walt was financially successful eventually, but he also made a lot of classic stuff. And like, he cared about the product and the quality of it.
Yeah.
And it just seems like that quality bar has dipped a little bit.
I think quality will out was one of his go-to expressions, was no matter what happens, we have to make it good, or else there's no point in doing it. And I think that's a little bit lost on them in the big corporate machine.
And it's not just Disney. That's kind of everyone nowadays. It's like,
for sure.
Just get your franchise film out there, make sure that it makes enough money and is marketable, and we don't care so much about the quality. Whereas I feel like even 10, 20 years ago, even approaching a big blockbuster, even if it was stupid, like even the bad ones from like the 90s that you watch, you look at the cinematography and it's like, oh, somebody gave a shit here.
Yeah.
Like, there's some lighting going on here. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if you go back to 2008 Iron Man, they were playing with house money, and it was like, hey, if this is good, we'll do more. If it sucks, whatever, we tried. That's how greatness began, right? Like that movie opened up the doors for, what'll potentially be 20 or 30 years worth of stuff. But it's because they focused on making just one movie really good.
Yeah.
At the beginning, and who knows? Now we're converting 6-episode TV shows into 2-hour movies, which is funny because we were converting 2-hour movies into 6-episode TV shows back in 2020. Then
they realized nobody makes any money that way.
I think they spent $25 million an episode on The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was basically a 2-hour movie script that got stretched out to a 6-episode thing.
And how many times have you thought about that show in the past year?
I can't say too many, but guess what's coming out in February? A Captain America movie with Sam Wilson, because that's going to actually make money because it's going to be in theaters. That's the long and short of it. But
it's amazing the big circle that Hollywood did.
Yeah, streaming's the future. Wait a minute, streaming's not the future. Hold on.
Yeah,
we're gonna go back to movie theaters because people actually spend money there. But let's wrap things up. Last movie on our list here is one that I've seen that you have not, which is Heretic from A24. It's a fascinating little picture. It's about two young women who are Mormons that are going to try to spread the word of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they knock at one guy's door, and it's Hugh Grant, and they get a whole hell of a lot more than what they were expecting.
They get a Jar Jar Binks impression, right?
He does a Jar Jar Binks impression in the movie, and like, so this movie caused a little bit of a stir because Hugh Grant got nominated for Best Actor at the Golden Globes, but they put him in the comedy musical category,
yes,
right?
The comedy.
And a lot of people were like, Heretic is not a comedy, which is true. It's not. But
yeah,
Hugh Grant has some genuinely funny moments in the movie. And the Jar Jar Binks impersonation,
I've
it's
seen
really
that
weird.
clip.
Yeah. But he has some really great moments in it. He does this whole, this long monologue where he's comparing Monopoly to other things and how it, the parallels to religion and choices and all this other kind of stuff. And the first hour, maybe hour and 10 minutes of the movie is really solid. It goes a smidge off the rails in the end and kind of turns into like a girl trapped in the basement horror thriller kind of thing. And it's a little bit paint by the numbers at the end, but it's really all about the illusion of choice that is presented by religion, which I think is interesting. And it kind of dovetails nicely with Conclave because the people of the Catholic Church don't have a choice as to who their pope is. It's a bunch of dudes that get together in a locked room with no outside distractions to pick their leader, right? So it's an interesting thing. It comes from a nice little script, great performance by Hugh Grant. I would say to check it out. It's on iTunes now if you have the chance. And it's apparently a comedy or musical. So if comedies and musicals are your thing,
it's so annoying that they need to just ditch the split, because like stuff like The Bear winning all the comedy TV show awards is
Panic
just
Attack, the television show, is a comedy apparently. But
yeah,
it has funny moments. Don't get me wrong,
but like
know,
it's no funnier than Succession.
Right.
And Succession was a drama, right?
All the way.
Like you could probably say Succession is more of a comedy than The Bear. And yet Succession was not always nominated in drama, and The Bear is nominated in comedy. And it's really just like picking the weaker of the two fields so they can win a bunch of awards. And I don't love that.
Yeah. I mean, there are comedic moments in all of the best dramas, and there are dramatic moments in all of the best comedies.
Yeah.
So why the hell do we have two separate? I think it's just to get more people nominated and get more people to show up and be on TV, because that leads to like ratings or whatever.
Well, the point is that like comedies have always kind of been seen as like lower art type of thing. And so like they wanted to split it out so that those people get recognized. But the problem is that it just keeps getting hijacked by dramas, and then you end up having dramas and dramas and there's no actual comedy musical award winning going on there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know which category it ended up in, but Jesse Eisenberg's new movie, A Real Pain, with him and Kieran Culkin, I know it got nominated for Best Picture for either drama or comedy, but it's like 50-50. So how do you even pick which category it goes into? It has very, very dramatic moments that make people cry, but it's also hilariously funny. Like Kieran Culkin is hysterical in the movie. So how do you pick when you're doing a category like that?
So that was comedy or musical, by the way.
Is it really?
According
okay.
To Golden Globes was comedy or musical.
Well,
I guess that
Globes,
kind of works, because like I think Hitman is also.
They have a category for box office.
I know.
So if you want to take how serious the Golden Globes are, it's the Logan Roy "You Are Not Serious People" meme.
Yeah.
Box office achievement or whatever.
Nobody actually cares about the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
It was always just like biding time till the
this
Oscars.
Little crystal ball for what might happen at the Oscars, maybe. But at the end of the day, that doesn't matter.
But like Avatar won Best Picture.
Did it really?
Golden Globes. Yeah. For drama. I don't know what won for comedy that year, but then it did not win. It was Hurt Locker for the Oscars.
It lost to Hurt Locker, which ironically enough was directed by James Cameron's ex-wife.
Correct.
Boom.
Yeah, that was always nice when he stood up and did the standing applause, but it just killed him inside.
The only thing that would have made that better is if it were a La La Land situation.
Oh, where they
Moonlight
they accidentally picked the wrong one,
and Avatar wins best. Oh, just kidding! It's the Hurt Locker.
It's interesting. Going into the award season, what's going to be nominated and win and what won't. But we'll have a different video on that whenever that comes around.
Yeah, but I do think the picture is starting to become quite a bit more clear as to some of the movies and performances that are going to land there, and a lot of them are really, really good and definitely worth the time to check out and see them. So that is going to do it for this video. Happy to catch up on a couple films and chat with y'all here. If you have any thoughts on these movies or if you've seen them, drop us a comment below. Let us know what you think. We'll make sure to answer all of them. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Once again, we are trying to get to 100 subscribers before the end of the year here. It's a big milestone for us, so we would appreciate the help and support. We will be back. I think we're going to do a video now that Skeleton Crew is halfway done, talking about where that show's at and where we think it might be going. We're going to see Nosferatu next week, and even if Shane is too scared after seeing it to do a video, I will make one by myself.
Hiding under my bed.
It will happen. So please stay tuned for those and so much more, and we will see you guys in the next video.